Alright guys, what is going on? This is your Angry Birds NASCAR fan, the Blue Jimmy 48 fan here, and welcome back everyone to another Angry Birds Flock Talk, where all we talk is the flock. I'm just gonna say it right now. The Rovio Sega deal is a total disaster. Now before we get into the elephant in the room, firstly I want to quickly talk about some much more positive things that have happened in Angry Birds as of late. For starters, Angry Birds was recently inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame in Rochester, New York. The next thing is that currently right now there is a Subway Surfers and Angry Birds 2 collab. And lastly, Space Silver recently made her debut in the latest update of Angry Birds Reloaded. Not to mention, we are also still awaiting the first trailer of the upcoming Angry Birds Movie 3, which will be happening in December. Things are looking up in terms of the content. However, it is not all sunshine and roses in terms of the Rovio and Sega partnership. I'm about to break down the newest article from mobilegamer.biz, which I will leave down in the description below for you guys to read. Rovio set for restructure after Sega acquisition disappoints. According to the article, it says, quote, Japanese giant Sega said in its latest financial report that the deal failed to create economic value and that Rovio will now be focused on restructuring. The companies will also be reviewing their free-to-play game portfolio and plan to lower the priority of free-to-play games going forward. Rovio will be focusing on its Angry Birds IP and licensing to improve earnings going forward. It plans to release Angry Birds 2 in mainland China, quick sidebar, that's already happened, and launch another new game in the series this fiscal year. There are also high hopes for the third Angry Birds movie set for release in December this year, which should also boost licensing revenue. As you can see by this chart, fiscal year 2026 Rovio sales were roughly around 181 million euros, which is roughly around $213 million. Sega, however, has forecasted further decline for 2027. So once again, quote, Rovio's woes dragged earnings and profitability down across the whole company. Due to certain titles performing below plan, as well as sluggish performance of existing mainstay titles and delays in the launch of new titles at Rovio, overall performance remained sluggish. Sega also said that it would be suspending large-scale M&A activities for the time being as a result of Rovio's underperformance. Yeah, I think it's safe to assume Rovio is on life support, but I will say this. This is something that desperately needed to happen. I've said this before in a previous video. Something needed to change. Angry Birds fans have pointed out Rovio's flaws for over a decade now. They have pointed them, every single one of them out. And now it's finally come to the realization that, yeah, we need a change over here. And of course, the Angry Birds fans, they're going to obviously blame, Rovio for not bringing back the classic games or, removing them from the App Store back in 2019. I know a lot of fans are going to go to that argument. For me, it was roughly around 2016, 2017. That was when, they just got done with the first movie. They also started to go down towards the hatchlings route, I kind of knew that those should have been the signs that things within Angry Birds were about to change drastically. I will say this straight up. The Katie LeBron's era was horrible. It was absolutely awful. But boy, this Rovio Sega deal, we might be approaching another dark age of the franchise. If we aren't in it already. And what's even more just mind-boggling about this is that, we've been getting a whole bunch of new content. I mean, engagement on social media is just through the roof right now with Angry Birds. Literally. Like, a lot of Angry Birds posts on social media, whether it be TikTok, X, Instagram, or Reels and whatnot, people are still talking about this franchise. I mean, I see this every day. I open up my TikTok. I go into the comments. I see people nostalgic for the classic games to come back. I see people reminiscing on some of their best Angry Birds memories back when they were kids. There's talk about the movie. There's talk about collaborations. The engagement is there. But the one thing that, in my opinion, just has prevented from these people not only coming back to Angry Birds, but also potentially engaging with Angry Birds for the very first time, was the removal of the classic games. I hate to sound like a broken record, but that is the truth. Perhaps this restructuring is what the company needs right now, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But at the rate Rovio is going, and especially if the Angry Birds Movie 3 flops, I wouldn't be shocked if Sega is going to absorb all of Rovio and that they are going to take matters into their own hands. And it shouldn't be this way. Rovio is supposed to make the best Angry Birds experience for the casual mobile game player. I really don't know. I really don't know where we go from here. I really don't know where we go from here. I understand technology continues to advance. I understand that the old engine software that Rovio used to use, that's outdated now. But that shouldn't be used as an excuse to practically give up on what worked. I really hope that this restructuring is going to fix a lot of problems. This franchise, this Angry Birds franchise, has been a part of me for over half my life. And it would be an absolute crying shame to see it die like this. I know I probably yapped once again a bunch of nonsense, but I just needed to get this off my chest because it is just... the franchise is in a dire state. Angry Birds is in a very dire state. Something's got to give. Something has to give now. But with that said, that is going to put a wrap on this Flock Talk. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts about the Rovio restructuring and the recent SEGASammy financial report. The only thing we can do at this point is just hope for better days ahead. But with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, join the Blue Dream Revolution today, and I will see you all on the next video. Remember, stay safe, always someone kind, and I hope you all have a fan-flockin'-tastic day.